Hey gang, it's Jeff from Photo Finish Restorations, and on this episode of Muscle Cars and Hot Rods, we're going to talk about the best way to strip a car, and I'll show you a little bit of airbrushing that I did way back. So check it out. You know when the paint pimp said he wished he could win the lottery and bring all the YouTube people back together in one big garage, everybody could work on their own stuff? Got me to kind of thinking like YouTube kind of is that. I mean, there's certain people out there that I don't have a problem with going and shooting a video right now, uploading it and answering or giving my 2 cents in. So anyway, I thought it'd be a good opportunity for us to start talking about practices and you know, if we're going to really tap into each other's knowledge and see what it is that we can come up with as a final result, then let's start it. I think a good place to start on that when you're talking about refinishing, a complete automotive refinish, is from the metal up. Paint is basically corrosion protection, and no matter how good you are, your paint is going to fail. Period. It's going to fail. The metal doesn't want that stuff on there. But, you know, thanking for all the generations that came before us, there's a few things that we've learned along the way. And so, let's talk about stripping a car. We'll get it down to the metal and see what we got. Stripping the metal, I've never done plastic media. Seth and Chris both did. There was an experimental plastic media shop, you know, 10, 15 years ago, whatever it was, and they would teach the students there, or the customers probably, how to spray their plastic media in order to strip it down. I guess they would get cars stripped for 75 bucks. But I have done baking soda. We had a baking soda booth at Photo Finish when I started. And the tout with baking soda that was so cool was you didn't have to detrim the car. You could hit your stainless trim, you could hit your rubber trim, and if anything, it in fact cleaned it up more. But the residue, you know, finishes that metal so nicely that it has a tendency to want to stick. And if you don't get that baking soda residue off the car, well, you're going to have adhesion problems. I believe in sandblasting for floorboards, jams, strong metal areas like suspension parts, frames, all that kind of stuff. The walnut shell is a much more expensive process, and I believe it's also more time consuming. And so the sand really kicks it on those areas, and you're not so worried about warpage. And that's how you do those basic areas with sand. Walnut shell is what we use today. All our cars get walnut shelled, all the exterior skins. I've never seen any issues with warping the metal. It always gets it nice and clean. It doesn't touch rust, but we got little tricks and stuff to get us through those areas. It won't actually go down into the pits of old metal and kill the rust, but it'll get that finish off there, and today it's a preferred method. Maybe some of the all-time best stuff I had about 5 cars dipped at Ready Strip up in Tempe. I don't even know if it's legal to do that anymore. I don't know anything about it. I didn't really ever have any concerns. People talk about acid bleeding from the seams out into it, and on the particular cars that I've sought through to finish, like the 1957 Ford Thunderbird was a dipped car. I didn't notice any problems. The 1969 Plymouth Roadrunner was a dipped car. And so what dipping is they've got a first tank. They're like 17 by 10 or 12 feet tall tanks, and they've got cranes overhead, and they pick your car up and they dip it in the first tank, which gets rid of all finish, all tar, all seam sealer, all that stuff. During the process, they got to hoist the car up and scrape it down in certain areas and put it back down in and get the soak on. The next tank is electrolysis. Electrolysis pulls all the rust from the pores, from the seams, from the butt weld, from the lap weld. It pulls all the rust out of the car. Then there's the third tank, which is a phosphoric acid tank, and that's done as kind of like a metal prepping. And up there, that's how they ship the cars, because the cars are basically at that point untouched. I believe personally you must immediately pick that car up, scrub the acid off. I don't know all the best ways to get it off. I know what we've always done. Get that thing sanded down and put in either, I guess, etch, and I guess on top of etch you could put epoxy, or on top of etch, that's probably where I'd go, or just flat out good old epoxy, as long as you're following your manufacturer's suggestions. So dipping was very cool, but walnut shell is much more user friendly and easier to use, and that's what we do. Walnut shell our cars. Price, it's gonna be all over the place. I can tell you we pay probably $1,000 and under, maybe a little bit more. Never two, so never 15. I don't think. So think about all those hours you're gonna save on a full-on rotisserie when you have it walnut shelled. Real quick, let's talk about aircraft stripper. Don't like it, don't use it. Not that I haven't used it a bunch in my time. Probably not that I won't ever use it in the future. I probably will, but that stuff is bad. In my opinion, that stuff is bad. When you can't even walk up to it and it just burning your face, that's not good for you. And then, the dart here, I took my buffing, my big buffer, the big 8-inch buffer or whatever. I went out and I bought a pad that screwed onto that 7/8 arbor, and went down and bought a bunch of 80 grit discs for it, and I went through and I completely stripped the finish on this car, with the exception of the deck lid and maybe like the valance or a couple other areas, but just a couple things that I didn't strip. It's a messy process. It's time consuming. It's dirty. I mean, you're talking goggles, you're talking mask, you're talking shield, gloves. You're going to have to sweep all this stuff up, and you're going to have to dispose of it. I don't know if it's considered like waste to where you got to go down to the hazardous waste department. I wouldn't be surprised. There's a lot of heavy metals in those pigments and stuff that you're pulling off the car. And then real quick, lastly, do you even need to strip the car? I mean, is it a nice paint, is there a nice finish on it? Maybe one paint job, just the factory? If that's the case and it's all in good condition and you're not getting a bunch of rust and contamination giving you troubles, I might keep that original finish right on there. This painting right here is the culmination of all my airbrushing. This is not the last airbrush painting I've done, but this was where I was at when I decided to walk away from airbrushing. Not so much that I won't do an airbrush, but that it's not my full-time participation. Once I started learning to weld and replace sheet metal and get more into the bodywork, hammering and doweling and bumping and getting that metal straight, that's kind of where I veered from painting. But you can take a look. These are all my designs, all my logos, all my pinstriping, shadowing, multi-graphic piece. You can see there's probably at least 10 graphics going on. We've got the chrome, pretty bad. I can do better chrome, but it gets the point across and it works. Let's talk about got the 32 coming from the speedometer. You've got all the speedometer readings done in bone. I tried even that wild pinstriping. That was the stuff that Craig Fraser claimed he invented one night when they had to ship a car and their pinstriper couldn't come and none of them knew how to pinstripe, so they did the wild pinstripe as kind of a fake. There's my airbrush art company. The Joy of Art Company, or the Joy Art Company. It's kind of a play on Bob Ross's The Joy of Painting. We all remember the happy little clouds in the air the landscape oil paintings knocked out in about 15 minutes right in front of your face. Alright gang, there it is. The first for me YouTube shop meeting. Let's see some video responses. Let's see some comments. Let's hear your idea on the best way to strip a car for a complete refinish. I want to know what your favorite method is and why. Is it because of cost? Is it because of results? Is it because of ease, locality? I mean, what a pain in the ass it is to take a car to another city just to get it stripped. Alright, so there it is. I'm going to end this one here. We'll catch you on the next one.